Hey everyone, and welcome. If you're currently grinding through your CPA or CMA exam prep, you already know that cost accounting can be, well, incredibly tricky. But today, we're going to crack wide open one of the most notoriously confusing, frequently tested topics you're going to face. In this explainer, we are solving the ultimate operating income mystery, absorption costing versus variable costing. And I promise you, by the end of our time together, you're going to see exactly how all these moving pieces fit together.
So here's the real pain point so many candidates struggle with. You can take the exact same company with the exact same sales, the exact same production numbers, and the exact same costs. Yet somehow, if you use absorption costing for one income statement and variable costing for another, you get two completely different operating income numbers. I mean, how is that even possible? Why do two perfectly valid accounting methods produce totally different bottom lines? That is the core mystery we are going to solve right now.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. 1. The core difference. 2. Production equals sales. 3. Production exceeds sales. 4. Sales exceed production. And finally, 5. Exam traps and memory tips.
Part 1. The core difference. Fixed manufacturing overhead. The absolute fundamental difference between these two costing methods really just boils down to how they treat one specific type of cost. Seriously, this is the absolute key to the entire mystery. It is all about fixed manufacturing overhead. We're talking about things like factory rent, factory depreciation, factory insurance. Now, under absorption costing, which remember is required for external GAAP reporting, fixed manufacturing overhead is treated as a product cost. It gets capitalized. That means it is essentially absorbed into the cost of each unit, and it just sits there on the balance sheet in inventory until that specific unit is actually sold. But variable costing, which management uses for internal decision-making, says, no, we're not doing that. It treats fixed manufacturing overhead as a period cost. It literally expenses the entire amount directly on the income statement in the period it's incurred, completely regardless of how many units you actually sell.
Let's anchor this abstract theory with a concrete example right out of the source material. Think about example 4.8. In this scenario, a firm produces 100 units during its first month, but they only sell 80 units. Because they produced more than they sold, the operating income between the two methods differs by exactly $600. And guess what? The ending inventory value also differs by exactly $600. That is absolutely not a coincidence. Let's break down exactly where that number comes from.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how the math works. So the company incurred $4,500 in variable manufacturing costs, which works out to $45 per unit. Simple enough. But they also had $3,000 in fixed manufacturing overhead. Under variable costing, the product cost is just that $45. The entire $3,000 of fixed overhead is just expensed immediately, wiped clean. But under absorption costing, that $3,000 of fixed overhead is divided by the 100 units produced. That adds $30 of fixed cost to every single unit. So now the absorption unit cost is $75. Since 20 units went unsold, you take those 20 units, multiply them by that $30 of fixed overhead, and boom, that gives us exactly $600. Under absorption costing, that $600 is just hiding on the balance sheet in ending inventory. But under variable costing, it was already totally expensed on the income statement.
Which brings us to part 2. Production equals sales.
Now that we know the mechanism, that fixed overhead is basically acting as a wedge between the two methods, let's look at our first of 3 highly testable scenarios. When a company sells exactly what it produces during a period, there's obviously no change in inventory levels, right? So what does that mean for our income statement? It means the operating incomes are completely identical under both methods. Why? Because all the fixed manufacturing costs budgeted and incurred for that period flow straight through to the income statement. Under variable costing, they're expensed immediately. Under absorption costing, they're attached to the units produced, but since all those units were sold, the costs flow straight through cost of goods sold anyway. The destination is exactly the same, so the operating income matches perfectly.
Let's look at part 3. Production exceeds sales.
But what happens when things aren't so perfectly balanced? Let's look at this incredibly common exam scenario. When production is greater than sales, the company is basically building up its inventory. Step by step, here's what happens. Because inventory increases, some of the fixed manufacturing costs incurred this period get absorbed into those unsold units. They're deferred. This means they park themselves on the balance sheet inside ending inventory instead of hitting the income statement right away. Meanwhile, variable costing is still stubbornly expensing all of those fixed costs immediately. Because absorption costing is hiding some of those fixed costs in inventory, its total expenses for the period are lower, and lower expenses mean a higher profit. Therefore, whenever inventory increases, absorption income is greater than variable income, always.
Moving on to part 4. Sales exceed production.
Now, let's flip the script entirely. Let's look at what happens when the company sells more units than it actually produces in a given period. If sales exceed production, it means the company has to dip into its older, beginning inventory stocks just to meet customer demand. Overall inventory decreases. Here is the reverse effect in action. Those older units sitting in beginning inventory? They have fixed manufacturing costs from prior periods embedded right inside them. When those units are finally sold, those trapped fixed costs are released and expensed through cost of goods sold. So, think about it. Absorption costing is expensing this period's fixed costs plus the released fixed costs from prior periods. But variable costing is only expensing this period's fixed costs. Because absorption costing is bearing that extra burden of released costs, its profit takes a hit. Therefore, when inventory decreases, absorption income is strictly less than variable income.
And finally, part 5, exam traps and memory tips.
So, you now understand the underlying mechanics perfectly, but understanding it in a quiet room while studying and recalling it under intense ticking clock exam pressure, those are two very different things. Now, what's really interesting about this is that it isn't just theory. The AI CPA and IMA love, and I mean love, testing this specific relationship. They will give you scenarios with changing inventory levels and ask you to calculate the difference, or simply ask you which method produces the higher income. You need to be able to answer this instantly without getting tangled up in a bunch of math. So here are your golden rules to just absolutely hammer home. Rule number 1, follow the inventory. If inventory goes up, absorption income goes up relative to variable costing. They move in the exact same direction. Rule number 2, and this is a fantastic conceptual check for those tricky multiple choice questions, the value of ending inventory is never higher under variable costing. Literally never. Why? Well, because variable costing systematically excludes all fixed manufacturing costs from inventory. Absorption inventory always carries that extra fixed cost weight, so its ending inventory value is always going to be higher, as long as there is fixed overhead.
Finally, I really want to warn you about a classic exam trap that plays right into the real-world consequences of these methods. It's the income manipulation trap. Examiners love to ask why a company might prefer variable costing for internal reporting. And the reason is that under absorption costing, a manager can artificially inflate operating income simply by overproducing. If they crank up production way beyond sales demand, they store massive amounts of fixed costs in ending inventory. This artificially lowers current expenses and boosts their bonus-tied operating income. Variable costing stops this manipulation cold because no matter how much you overproduce, all fixed costs are expensed immediately. Keep a very close eye out for that specific scenario in behavioral or reporting questions.
All right, we've covered the core differences, we've walked through the 3 big scenarios, and we've armed you with the golden rules. So, I'll leave you with one final question to lock this all in. If a company produces 10,000 units but only sells 8,000, meaning inventory increases, which costing method will show a higher operating income? Think about where those fixed costs are hiding. Master this relationship, and you'll be well on your way to crushing your exam. Keep studying hard, and good luck.